There is only one indigenous broadcaster championing the cause for the restoration of Biafra. Biafra Human Rights Radio. Of course, unstoppable and remains the beacon of truth. It has been so since yesterday, and it is today and forever. Biafra Restoration Project is on course. It remains sacrosanct. It is irreversible, and no amount of force can dampen nor quench the ingenuity and the resilience of the indomitable Biafran spirit.
We must defend. Africa's Got Talent.
Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Englishman knows that, Frenchman knows that, Nigeria knows that, no. Englishman knows that, Frenchman knows that, Nigeria knows that, yo. They are playing on your intelligence, life full of pretense. They are playing on your intelligence. They are playing on your intelligence. Their life full of pretense. Everything is diligent. Yeah. Oh, so every black man stand up for your right. Wherever you are, stand up to Africa. So every black man so every black man, so you're right, black man. Oh, freedom for Africa, Africa, freedom for Africa. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Englishman knows that, Frenchman knows that, Nigeria knows that, Englishman knows that, Frenchman knows that, Nigeria knows that, yo.
We have been in this bondage for decades now. Oh,
For decades now,
they gave us their culture. They killed our prophets. They colonized our people with guns and bullets.
guns and bullets
Biafra is our hope now.
is our hope now.
Biafra is the hope of Africa.
So every black man stand up for your right. Wherever you are, stand up to Africa. So every black man has to stand up for your right. Freedom for Africa, Africa, freedom for Africa. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Africans will never be free until Biafra comes, yeah. Englishman knows that. Englishman knows that. Frenchman knows that. Frenchman knows that. Nigeria knows that. Englishman knows that. Frenchman knows that. Nigeria knows that. Yo.
See them bad men working tirelessly day and night, trying to oppress and bring Jaja children down. So every black man even now for the heroes be stand up for your right and let us free Africa. I know that Jaja won't let us down.
indigenous broadcaster championing the cause for the restoration of Biafra. Biafra Human Rights Radio. Of course, unstoppable and remains the beacon of truth. It has been so since yesterday, and it is today and forever.
Yes, once again, fellow Biafrans, lovers of freedom, men and women of goodwill, conscientious people wherever you are all over the world, I say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and to some of you, good night, depending on your time zone. And of course, this is Radio Biafra Extra, and we are streaming live through Biafra Human Rights and Freedom Radio Station. Biafra Human Rights and Freedom Radio Station is being minded by Mazi Uche Ukafomefo. Mazi Uche Ukafomefo is from Abatete. Abatete is in Anambra State, and Anambra State is in Biafra land. Mazi Uche Ukafomefo is the man who has simply assured us that he will not allow the heart of this project to see corruption. I do not expect everyone to understand the mindset behind those words, but one day you shall. By the special grace of the Almighty Creator, I am George Onyibe, and of course I come from Agbo. Agbo is in Anyoma province. Anyoma province is in Delta State. Of course, every piece of land in Delta State is Biafra land. And of course, do not mind the distorted sound coming out. So much challenges, but then we can only get better. And this evening, as customary demand, I will proceed to acknowledge members of the de facto customary government, an embodiment of pro-Biafran groups who understand the need why we must reconverge in a time like this to reevaluate everything we have done so far, and of course forming one impenetrable unit that will enable us dismantle every obstacle on our way on this quest to restore Biafra. The de facto customary government is headed by Alhaji Asare Dokubo. Alhaji Asare Dokubo is the chairperson implementation committee, and of course he's from River State, maybe I don't know, just not River State, but also from Bayelsa State, both of them. You know, the issue of balkanization, we now refer to God know where these names come from anyway. Alhaji Asare Dokubo remained the principal man who understand the need why men should, to the part of doggedness, just to protect the overall interests of their people. He is deputized by our sister Rita Ada Anebogo. Sister Rita Anebogo is from Enugu State. She is a woman among women. Because an exception, Chief Rafael Wazurike, having been betrayed by one of his followers. Of course, it's no other person than Nnamdi Kanu. Rita and Ebogo were along the next line of genuine men and women who fought to ensure that Biafra is restored. She was eventually made a saboteur. Maybe she might be the one with the trophy, the first woman saboteur. Or maybe, okay, there are other women saboteur anyway. I don't know where they are now. Rita Anebogo has never turned her back on the people of Biafra. And she's still standing there. And of course, on this de facto customary government, we have the advisory body, we have the internal parliament. You have Dr. Kado, you have Uche Nasibu, Ike Nangwan Onenyi, Nwenyinyo, or Prophet, and others too numerous to mention. But I think it is important that we take time to acknowledge these people. Because what we do here, whether good or bad, it is going to be written in the sand of eternity. And I can assure you our actions these days, it will last beyond the lips of ancient generation, more than that of the pyramids of Egypt. Acknowledge all of you. Chief Raphael Owazurike, still fighting doggedly on one angle. We acknowledge all of you, men and women who sympathize with us in this quest, who understand our position and the need why the right thing need to be done. Those of you who are painlessly making huge sacrifice to make sure the truth continue to emanate from the right sources for the overall interest of our people. All the pro-Biafran groups standing by. I keep saying it. We may not 100% agree on the ideology of each and every one of us, but then what is civilization is ability for people to sit on a round table and debate issues, allowing the superior argument to take the lead. Not because that is the right thing, no, but sometimes you want to see how it's going to be. And so all of you are doing well. Members of Biafra Nation Alliance family, you stood your ground when you should have run. When Nnamdi Kanu, indigenous people of Nnamdi Kanu was everywhere threatening you on your Facebook, most of you, all of you, stood your ground. It's amazing. I see people chatting me up. Don't follow George Onyibe. Don't listen to George Onyibe. But they don't know it's George Onyibe. And then others say, we will kill you, we will kill your children, we will cut off your this, we will cut off. See, anything you want to do, please do. But the only promise I have made to all of you, that will be the last thing you will do. That will be the last thing you will do. This is not a threat, it is a promise. But then, in the Biafra Nation Alliance member, you stood there. You don't have AK-47, you don't have drone, you don't have satellite. Some of your phones are not even good. But for the sake of Biafra, for the love of Biafra, you are there. Mazi Okomoko Mpolo Kinkwo, Dr. Kinkwo, Ozurumba, Mbadike, Ezekwisele, Mazi Obidi Obienu, Dr. Okado, every member of the Biafra Nation Alliance family, both the advisory body, both the administrative angle, our brother Peter, the Northern rep, and of course our Asian rep, our Europe rep, all of you, the representatives in Africa, and of course Biafra land and Nigeria at large, acknowledge all of you. I may not take time to call your name. I may not chat you, our media, formidable media, just few individuals doing great things. And somebody will tell me there is no God. Biafra Nation Alliance, we will not fail the people of Biafra. This is a promise. And of course, this having been said, I will move on to acknowledge the indigenous people of Nnamdi Kanu. This is their cause. They have to repent. Or the more they struggle, the more they will disgrace themselves. By now, you people should know your job is done. If there was ever a duty given to you, you should see it by now. But of course, you can still struggle. Indigenous people of Nnamdi Kanu, the only thing they know how to do is to curse everybody out, deceive everybody. And what I do not understand is that you spill the blood of your brothers and sisters without remorse, without pain. You damn the consequence. You threaten everybody. But then who are you? You do not exist, I should tell you that. Nnamdi Kanu lost his moral ground the moment he began to mess up the people he is called to lead, if he was ever called. He messed up his ground. I see China Sanwo-Olu jumping and giving order, burying Dune Soku alive, bury more alive, catch Chijoke Otaji and slaughter him, kill Madam Shosha, Ruby must be poisoned. Of course, they did it to Chimaobi Okafor. They begin to order our execution, one after the other. And then I could go back and begin to look at the history of tyranny that has encountered this universe, that there are evidence for us to see. And I have not seen any as heartless as IPOB led by Nnamdi Kanu. Acknowledge you people. Do your worst. Deceive your people. But we will make sure that at the end of the day, the next generation will know the truth. Having acknowledged them, I will move ahead this hour to acknowledge the Creator. He is the lifting up of our head. He is our hope and stay. He is the confidence, assurance that we will get home. And whatever we do, we put our hope and confidence in Him. Ibe nchitara onwu ya n'ubi amamihe jigidem onye nwe anyị Chineke jigidem jigidem onye nwe m Chukwu jigidem ọsọ gị o ka na-agba o eze anyị mmeri gị o ka ga-emeri ndị iro biko nye anyị ike oge niile ka anyị ghara ịda o. Ise. We communicate in one word, and God revised them in 7 ways. For once He has spoken, and twice we have heard that power belongs to God alone. And this having been said, I will move on this hour. Let us have an interactive session this evening. But some of you see I take so much time to do introduction. Of course, believe me, if not for the of trying to pass my message, I think somewhere along the line it is important we take record of genuine men and women, even evil men and women, what they have done. Have you not read your Bible? You see some chapters are dedicated to genealogy. You have a whole chapter, a whole verse dedicated to genealogy. And then you begin to hear Adam gave birth to Abel, Abel then killed Seth, Seth then gave birth to Methuselah, Methuselah now give birth to Nimrod, who now gave birth to Abraham, and then you have this and that and that. God is a record keeper. All of them were not noble men or good men, but God took record of them. And of course, if you go to the epistles of Matthew, you begin to see the genealogy till Mary and Joseph, the carpenter, they met, and then they have a son who now was linked to the throne of David. He was Jesus, the Messiah. God take record, and why should we not? And so this evening we are going to look at a more interactive discussion. Our topic is titled the need to review government and politics, the role of government and politics in a modern society. Tonight, let us have a new discussion. Of course, at this moment, the lines are open and you're free to call in. I will give out the number shortly. But those of you on Facebook, you have the number already on the platform. There is what is known as government. Tonight, let us review government and politics, the role they play in a modern society, as it is going to help all of us to be able to navigate through the next challenges that is waiting for us in this struggle. In this moment, where politicians are being formulated or policies are being formulated and strategies initiated from different angles to ensure that Biafra restoration project is drawn to a conclusive end. It is imperative that we review the role of government and, of course, in collaboration or side by side with politics to see how it will affect this project. I understand in my yesterday presentation, Dr. Okado and of course Mazio Bidio being emphasized from different point of view their concern, their own view when it comes to the issue of getting involved in politics and the issue behind governance. And of course, this is one issue that we are very careful, and then systematically we engage in such discussion. Not because there is anything bad in them, but of course, in time past, Nnamdi Kanu has so much destroyed this sector and see them as the major problem we are facing. And so nobody should talk to politicians. We don't work with any government, don't near politicians. And of course, he was right. Ordinarily, we should not near the government. Ordinarily, we shouldn't have anything to do with politics. But then, from extensive knowledge, and so for over half a decade, we condemn the politicians, and yet things are getting worse. But don't forget the same Nnamdi Kanu who preached, who campaigned vigorously against the politicians, were going behind collecting money from them. When my brother Audio Guinea was making broadcast, somebody called from America and said, when they gave Nnamdi Kanu money, why did he not? I rejected the money. Were you there? Why are you people like this? Why would you wake up one day and choose to be an intellectually dishonest individual? Were you there? It is like somebody telling me, do you know I put sugar in your kid's mouth and your kid speed it away? I'm going to call a doctor immediately. What you know nothing about, you defend it sheepishly. They give him the oil well. Who is the person Papa oil well they won't give her? The oil well in Ohajebema, he can't even near there. He can try to recolonize him with it. Let him go there so as our boys will teach him as Awana. They gave him 5 states of the Eastern. Which one is 5 states? He rejected it. They gave him 21 oil well. In fact, they gave him office in London. And then you're talking to babies. And somebody's asking such question. Now, the issue is that this issue regarding the government, the politics, the politicians, and the society, somewhere along the line, this is a monster all of us must engage. And now, tonight, I'm going to give you a brief history. And let us look at the complex nature of this issue. And then you can call in and then make your own contribution. Remember, we are going home. Whatever we are going to be in the nearest future as a nation is being manifested before our very eyes. And any truth we cannot stand to defend. When Biafra is restored, you cannot amend it any other way. Nigeria is what it is today because the founding father were never sincere. They had interior motives. And now it keeps pointing back to them. What they agreed, what they looked into, what they signed, and now we cannot go back. They will be taken care of by the oath. Go and find out the story of AGK Mbono of Faruchuku. Maybe you begin to understand why people like Obasanjo will rather die instead of them see what do you call it, Nigerian disintegrate. And of course, you should understand that is a NIP. We don't normally have light. When they give you light 2 minutes, the next minute they take it. But that having been said, we are back online. Hopefully, we continue to navigate with the challenges we're facing in Nigeria until finally we're able to come into a more civilized society where we can manage things properly. And so, like I was saying, you see people like Gowon, they understand the degenerating state of Nigeria, but they are under oath. Unity of Nigeria is not negotiable. You don't understand what happened. And one day some of us will be in that position. And that is why today conscientious men and women are making efforts to make sure that if for any reason we have any agenda, any agreement regarding this new nation, Biafra, we must make sure it is in the know. Because if not, there are things we are toiling with. And so tonight I want you to open your mind. Let us have your say in our say. Let everybody review it so that we can be ready for what is to come. If Obasanjo have his way, if late Buhari or Buhari rather have his way, if T.Y. Danjuma have his way, if all this founding father, Atiku and the rest of them as they are called, have their way, they will call off this country. But there is much for them to pay for than to dare it. And so all of us can burn in hell, all of us can die. It doesn't concern them. The oath must stand. And that is why your politicians, your government, and the rest of them are incorporated into the same secret agenda. The same problem will continue. But then, that having been said, on this segment it is going to be more of interactive, as we have to review facts about government, modalities, and how it can be managed, among others. At this stage in Nigeria, the most important agenda which they are channeling their energy to is to heat up the politics in different dimensions, of course, for the upcoming election, to keep everybody where they want us to be. They are working very hard on that. Anambra election is coming up. Sit at home and don't sit at home. Politics has played it soon. Now the canon, the gangster called US has negotiated. A lot of issues are being discussed. More is coming. Is it Igbo presidency? Is it a job presidency? Is it going to go to the north? Must the north retain power? Or do we put Yoruba people to cement the relationship of one Nigeria? A lot of issues are going on already. Debates are going on. The kakus are doing what they have to do. But it boils down to one thing: politics. And the question should be, can we get involved in politics as those who are agitating for the restoration of Biafra? Should we get involved in politics? Understand that your view is important. You back it with reasons. And now, for us to be able to look into this matter very closely, there are controversial questions that we need to answer and issues that need to be addressed about government. Bible says we don't work with government. We don't work with government. I see such an interwinding relationship between the following words, and that is government, politics, and then politicians. And what is their relationship to the society? Because if I say I am not a politician, and somewhere along the line we're still telling those politicians to help us get Biafra, we're still calling on the senators, members of the House of Representatives, of course they are politicians. We are very holy, we cannot get involved with politics, and then we discourage our people, don't join politics. But yet we are asking, speak for us, Yusuf, Odo Agege, speak for us. We that know better. What if we are there? Nigeria will corrupt us. I don't understand. I just want us to have a holistic thinking. And that is for politics. And the same goes for politicians. And then at the end of the day, you see the overall body of the government. But then, considering the nature of politics, politicians, and government of Nigeria, one should not even go there. But there are certain levels or area of achievement we cannot attend to without being able to influence them in one way or the other. And so tonight, I will ask you, my listeners, what is government? What is government? Because some people believe that as agitators, we should not get involved in government. In fact, the government should be our enemy. We've campaigned for this all, as far as I understand. In fact, the activities of our politicians and government of the day is uncalled for. It's unbelievable. But then, can we be able to get to the end of this journey without us getting involved? Without us playing significant role in the whole process? Can we just be standing on one side and then make a positive change that is able to liberate the people of Biafra from the evil enclave called Nigeria? And so, first of all, for the sake of the next generation, what is government? And of course, in terms of grammar or enlightenment from your secondary school, they will tell you that government is the group of people with the authority to govern a country or a state, a particular ministry in office. Government is a group of people with the authority to govern. They bring out some group of people to manage law and order in a society. And that is government. And so if people were chosen from among the people to represent the people, why would those of us in on the trip or the platform of agitating for Biafra restoration, why should we avoid the government? Why can't we confront the government? Why can't we be part of the government? Why can't we take advantage of those in government and see, is there any way we can make things work? Because there are 1,000,001 reasons in the heart of every Biafran why they should not have anything to do with the government of the day. And I quite agree with them. But is it sustainable? Is it obtainable as well? I have tried to look at some of the things that gave them Ojukwu the strength to be able to achieve most of the things he was able to achieve. And the greatest secret there is that he controls the government of the day as far as the eastern region is concerned. And you see, he met very strict opposition from other regions he was not in control of. Even in a region where over 55% to 70% are Igbos, I'm talking of the state, he couldn't influence any decision because there was another man in charge of that government. And then imagine if Dim Chukwemeko Odemegwu Ojukwu at that moment was in charge of the federal government of Nigeria. By now, we would not even remember. It will be stories. They say, before we were in one country called Nigeria, this thing would have been dusted and done. But I'm not telling you we're going to politics. But I want us to reveal it. And then, if we look at those people appointed to rule us in terms of government, this group of people, they have policy. They have rules. There is instruction given to them. You can call it constitution or any other thing. It's supposed to be the guiding principle that influence their decision when it comes to handling matter of the society. And that is where the playing of politics get involved. Now, for us to be able to look at it deeply, I want to create a picture, a scenario of how nations are formed. First of all, and all that. That is government. And how they are re-elected into office, how they discharge their duty, that is when politics comes in. And so once there is government, there must be politics. And if there is politics, it is played to protect the interest of a particular group or class of people in a society. Now understand how they are interwoven. Because if you say don't get involved in politics and you don't get involved in government, and then you shouldn't get involved in society, because three of them are separatable, inseparable. A religious dogma anyway. Be separated, yet they cannot be separated. We are a people who are not happy with the way Nigeria is functioning. If you say don't get involved in the government, you could as well be saying don't get involved in their politics. And overall or generally, you should tell us don't get involved in the society. Having considered these 3 points, let's go a little further. How do they create a society that gives birth to government of the day, which then introduce method of governance, which is politics? For instance, you must understand every tiny detail behind the forming of a nation, a society, a community, a village, hamlet, or settlement, as the case may be. A lot of agreements were made, and this agreement that were made before the creation of such state or country becomes the engine room that governs the politics that is being played. You cannot deny this truth. If you try to hide from this truth, we can only be struggle. But those who have this information need to be using all of us, as the case of Nigerian will be. I took time to study the history of where I come from. It is complicated. An area that has over 800 monarchs, all being respected, and within these hierarchies of monarchs, they have one that is superior to all of them. And most of these second-class chief, for instance, may be very educated. They can be very rich. But then there is another throne that nobody dares. And then one begin to ask question, why is it nobody can challenge that king? And then from trying to find out, it gave birth to so many information. And the more I go deep, it blows my mind. And I'm humbled. And now let me give you a brief of this story so we understand the nature of the insane war we are fighting with in the Nigerian state. Now let's understand. There is this story that Henry stopped in Anambra, Arode and Henry. And then Omambara was the first son. And from there they begin to dispatch to different side of Biafra land. And so they came from Egypt. The story says that anyway. And that is not the area we are looking. But you are familiar with that discussion. And it can help us form a base. And now, if Uri, for instance, have 5 sons, and according to the tradition of our people, the first son takes over the father's house. And then somewhere along the line, the second son has to move ahead. But in moving ahead, he will not go empty-handed. The father will say, my son, go to the land in the north. That is where I want you and your descendant to settle. This place belongs to the first son. On no account should you come to this side. And then later on he said to the third son, now you are married and your family is doing well. Now that I'm alive, I want to see you and your descendant. Go to the south and till the soil. And then he divide the land by the children and he wait for his death. But then he must have given them instruction. You can see that clearly from Jacob blessing his children. He told them what they will become. And now there is issue. As they begin to grow, something must bring them together. There is need for them to grow economically, and so they will exchange commerce and industry, trade. They have market that maybe this community are good rice farmer, so they bring that rice to the general market. And then the other one who has yam will bring it to the general market. And then before you know, whatever they have. And so everybody is a stakeholder. As far as that market concerned, it becomes a binding force. And so they make law because they have differences in their operation. Now understand that these laws are made in the internal, and only the leaders of the people become the custodians of this law. Tomorrow, this law, some of them may begin to work against the emerging society as a result of advancement and development. If the people who play politics, the people in government, understand that based on the trend of development, if they should alter such policies, decision that has been taken in time past that form that very nation or society, that it will affect their position, they make sure it is not altered. They will rather want you people to be living in the archaic age than for it to be amended. That is part of the problem of Nigeria. Nigeria has youth from the Biafra land who did not even go to primary school, but they are able to process crude oil, separating it from fuel, aviation fuel, to diesel, without any advanced mechanism to do that locally. But yet, Nigerian leaders will come on the television and say, we are forming an alliance with America to give us more purified, refined petrol. And they call them, classify name, AGO and the rest, useless name to deceive all of us. But now, get it. If those boys in the creek can separate petrol, crude oil, diesel, and the rest of them, aviation fuel, from that crude oil, why can't they be encouraged? And now, the agreement of one Nigeria, if they allow it, will take us into a age. They don't want this. It will bring them down from their ivory tower of founding fathers. And so Nigerians will rather prefer that all of us will go back to use firewood than to let you have gas to cook in your house. And now, maybe you're getting that picture. Now, come back again from another setting. The kind of people that form outside that family now, that starts forming. It is said in a particular community, 4 men who were running from different challenges met on a piece of land. They were entirely 4 different strangers. But what binds them together is the kind of problem they have. Their problem was unique. And this one tells a story, and then another tells a story, and 4 of them have the same story to tell. And so they need to survive. And so they took over that land, settled there, separated from the rest of the world. And as time goes on, those men need to get married. They travel on different directions to see if they can have access to people living around. And with time, they saw they were not alone. The 4 men got married. They brought in their wives. They married as many wives as they can because they need to form family. The land is so big for them. They need people to inhabit there. And so 4 of them stayed in their different huts and start forming a society. And now as they progress, they need fishermen. One of them can fish. And so it was okay for them. And then they need a hunter. And one of them is a good hunter. And then the next one is a good farmer. And then the next one, let's say, is a herbalist. But then they need a blacksmith. And nobody can be a blacksmith. And so what do? They went to the neighboring village, as they have discovered, and look for who is an expert on blacksmith. They brought him back and make him part of the society. This was the pioneering age. Now there are 5 persons who is forming a community. They have put their law. Somebody has to be the leader. And something made them allow that person to be the leader at that moment, because all of them has equal share. And with time they brought in servants. And with time they allow other people to join them. There is an agreement that is serving as a bounding force behind all of them. And so as they progress, those who are not main stakeholders, out of the fear of the unknown, that they may be chased out in the nearest future, begin to form alliance with those people who are not part of that union. Peradventure, the real 4 descendants of those who form the village want to chase the blacksmith children away, or those who has come to join them away, they can be able to resist. Form alliance with strangers, and in most cases, war broke out. And the original owners of that land is undermined. That is what we are facing in Biafra land. That is what we are facing in Nigeria. And if I open your eye to see certain things, it will shock you. Now, the people of Biafra must grow more mature, not to dig deep into that very issue, conspiracy theory anyway, but rather to begin to overlook all those things and form a government that will ensure our survival. Whether you are the descendant of the blacksmith, whether you are the descendant of the fisherman, everybody must go back and trace why did our father first of all agree to form this society, and let that formation become the binding force that will make us come together and fight for our liberation. And with time, we will not be struggling any longer. That is how government comes on. But then some people are appointed to take charge of policies, formulations of policies that will govern the people. Then politics begin to come in. As somebody from Abia, please go and study the history of, let's look at 2 communities, the relationship between Itim and Iberi people. And then you find out more about Abereba people. And those of you from Ibibu, Efik, Anang, please be sincere and tell me the history of Eka people in your midst. And not until the original purpose why you are there is protected, you will see, you will soon begin to fight yourself. Can somebody tell me the reason why in Bender State, almost pool to pool is different language? The truth will shock you. But we do not care to look into it. This is the real government that is influencing everything we do today. And when I'm saying A, you are saying B, because your father went behind and gossiped to you. My father went behind and gossiped to me. And this thing, the enemy already know. So all they need to do is they throw corn for us, and then there will be trouble everywhere. That is the Nigerian you see today. When they did structural adjustment program, it was to undermine the unity of the Biafran people. And when they choose a particular group of people to be ruling your people, it is because those people are weaker. But they want to give to them what does not belong to them. So they can desperately fight to keep that in which does not belong to them. Of course, I speak in language you cannot understand, except you are guided by the Spirit. But I have to say it somewhere along the line, people will be able to decode it. They will disciple it. They will see the truth. And I pray on those very days that everybody will accept each other, harmoniously, create a better society, where Paul and Peter will be allowed to live freely, where humanity is all that matter, not power and ego, because it is going to destroy all that is left of us and make us slaves in the hand of those we are feeding. I think I'm taking much time on this. And so people come together based on certain principle and say, we are these people. And then with time, government was formed. Who choose who lead us? Is INEC actually fair in terms of allowing governors to be fairly elected? Irrespective of anything, are you telling me that Opus Odema is the people mandate? Not until the knowledge that is exhibited in Delta State is generalized in the whole of Biafra land, we are going to have a lot of political tussles. We are going to have a lot of confusion. We may speak big grammar for a very long year, trying to find out we join politics, we don't join politics, do we register for election or not? These are complicated issues. Now, for record purposes, I will say this and then you can begin to call in. When Delta State was created, my people, the Anyoma people, they know what they want, but wazo, they just be looking at you, but they know what they want. Ibori took over the government of Delta State. For 8 years, Ibori made sure. In fact, it is said that Ibori said that his tissue paper will not stay in Asaba, and he lived up to it. Ibori made sure that if he go to toilet in government house Asaba, he will take the tissue paper used to clean yash. It was that bad. But nobody complained. And normal people never said anything. They gave him all the necessary support. A hard issue that he has, we never complained. Because we know the game. There is a process in place. They want Anyoma, Urubu, Shekiri, and the rest of us to be killing ourselves. And then they can build more military barracks and turn our land under military occupation with the pretense that they are trying to make peace. And then Iburi left. He was able to put his brother, Uduanga. Uduanga started, but he was not as very solid as in terms of policy like Iburi. I'm not saying we had issue. I'm telling you what happened. We start looking at Uduanga. We cannot play the politics because we know those behind it. It is the federal government of Nigeria. And along the line, Uduanga was not dancing to their role as much. And so, Uduanga was suspended out of office as the governor of Delta State for more than 6 months, if I am not mistaken. And a younger cousin of mine, from Abo, Utokbo to be precise, he's younger, I'm older than him. He was picked to replace Uduanga. Why EFCC or British investigative, criminal, all those, they are cabal, investigate Uduanga. And of course, we called our brother and said, I hope you know the game. He said yes. You will not give any information regarding Uduanga to the federal government. They are permanent secretary and those who are to do that. Do not set that guy up. Just like what happened in Bayelsa. Alamisi was set back by the people who are supposed to cover him up. But that is a case for another day. And of course, that Anyoma man stood there. He never betrayed Uduanga. And when they noticed that nobody was selling anybody, Uduanga was reinstated into his office. Now let me tell you what happened. When Uduanga finished his tenure, it was time for another election. All things being equal based on Nigerian level of politics, somebody from Urubu or Shekiri will still take over. Because Anyoma people will just be observing you until they will rise. That is when you will understand the difference between your went into internal caucus discussion and say, Look at these people. They had the privilege to hijack the power. And you know, if we have taken over the power, Yoruba Fulani will tell you, you know, see Igbo people, see them now. Now, just hold the office. They are going, by now, Delta State will not be convenient for all of us. And you can understand, it's going to be here. But I thank God for this wisdom. So they rallied round and told our people, please, it's your turn now. Give us governor. We're not much involved in politics, but the few ones we have, it looks like Ukowa is at the helm or ahead of all of them. The Anyoma people unanimously agreed. And Ukowa was sent there. Ukowa, we cannot say he had free or fair election, but it was the true people mandate. Because Urobo Shekiri, everybody agreed, let Ukowa be there. And then that same government brought in Buhari into power. The first thing Buhari did, because Ukowa is not in his support of his government, was to begin to sponsor internal campaign to remove Ukowa. With everything they did, second election, re-election, re-campaigning, nobody came out. They were just looking at PDP and APC. They couldn't remove Ukowa. And of course, if you still remember, on the first assignment, the first project of Ibrahim Babangida Buhari, sorry, Alhaji Shagari, or is it Buhari or Shagari? The first project of Buhari in Delta State was to shut down the airport that was commissioned in less than 3 weeks. He assumed office. He shut this new airport down and told Nigerians that the runway was too narrow. Most of you have forgotten. Till some brothers from Anambra, in collaboration with some Anyoma people, started lobbying before they opened the airport. Now, politics was played there. Interest was being protected there. But we knew the secret. And so we watched. And now, this is where we are. And of course, I pray the people of Delta will continue to walk in this wisdom and make sure that we understand the role of the society, of course, I mean the government, the politician, the politics, as it affects the society. If we are able to put all these things together, things are not going to be the way they are. Imagine if any governor from Biafra land stand up today and say, I call for division of Nigeria. Just like Chinda, one of the senators from Rivers State, told them in Abuja, I call for the division of Nigeria. And you see how everybody attacked him. Though they died, the matter down. But under normal circumstances, if anybody who had the political power to do that, decide to do that, the whole hell will be let loose against such person. And if, for instance, I, George Onyibe, decide to go and contest for the next governor of Delta State, and one way or the other I emerge, and then I move a motion for Nigeria to be divided, and then the whole of Sambisa Forest, the whole of British government, the whole of imperialists, the whole of the real saboteurs will rise up and call for my head. Are we ready to die to defend me? Would that be solution? Would that be fine?